students to practice public speaking skills. And sometimes in real life, it's not that easy to practice, because let's be honest, if we want to practice a speech, of course we can practice in front of the mirror, but it's not the same, actually. So to be able to practice public speaking skills in front of the audience in a huge conference room, for example, it can be just troublesome in real life. So you need to organize all these people, you need to book the place, and so on. And in this case, virtual reality seems like a good solution, because you can arrange event to practice in any time when you have this time, and virtual audience also can be available 24/7, so that's quite convenient. And yeah, it seems like a good solution to practice public speaking skills in virtual reality. But we are talking not only about practicing, we're talking about learning process. And in learning processes, it's very important to see actually your improvements and your progress in practicing some skills. So that's why it's important to measure it and understand. And if we're talking about virtual reality, what we can measure? Some of them using VR headsets right now. I'm using 2D computer, so probably you can see that my arms are not moving. I can move only my head, so we cannot measure, for example, gesture or facial expressions, because it's with this technology, it's just not possible right now. But I can use my voice, and I can use my voice exactly the same like in real life. So we can measure actually vocal features, and that's quite comfortable. And how we can measure it, what kind of tools we can use, what kind of process we can use. Of course, we can involve professors or teachers to help students to assess the skills and assess progress. We can also involve peers or other students to help learners to assess their progress, but also we can use self-assessment, because it was proven that self-assessment is a good tool to involve learners in the learning processes and to self-reflection. So that's why self-assessment is one of the good tools to see the progress in learning processes. And it seems that we have already everything to practice. But actually, no, we forgot about one important thing, and this is technology acceptance. What's this, actually? The thing is that the positive effect of using the new technology, of implementing the new technology, can be lost if users will not accept this technology. So if I see that this technology is not useful for me and I don't like it, I'm not going to use it. And yeah, if I'm not going to use it, then any positive effects just won't be here. But how we can measure, understand, and predict technology acceptance? There is already an instrument for understanding and measurement this technology acceptance. It's called the Unified Theory of Acceptance and Use of Technology, the UTAUT model. It's already almost 20 years how people invented this theory. So it's proven to be effective in different contexts. So for my research, I decided to use this technology, and I will shortly introduce what's this about. First of all, the scientists who invented this model, they based on the connection that we can predict our behavior based on behavioral intention. So, yeah, basically speaking, if I want to do something, very likely that I will do something. So this connection is quite strong and stable, so they based their theory on this connection. Also, they found 4 predictors for behavioral intention and usage behavior. This is performance expectancy, force expectancy, social influence, and facilitating conditions. Again, I will very briefly describe about these 4. Performance expectancy, it's about if I see that this technology, for example, VR technology, can help me to improve my performance, then very likely I will use this technology for my work or for my study. If work expectancy, it's about if I see that using this technology won't be very complicated for me, then very likely I will use this technology. Social influence, if people who are important for me tell me that I have to use this technology, or yeah, I should use this technology, then again, very likely I will use this technology. And facilitating conditions, it's about if I see that in organization or already system that can, let me put it a bit easier. If I see that there is support, like technology support, or I can ask some questions about using this technology, then again, very likely that I will use this technology in the future. So there are also 4 moderators. I'm not gonna talk more about this, just so you know that this is age, gender, experience, and voluntariness of use. So this relationship affected by these moderators. So this is the whole model. Yeah, it looks quite complicated, but one important thing about this model that 70%, we can predict 70% of the variance of usage intention. So for social science, if model can predict 70%, it means a lot. So it's very high percentage of predicting actually intention of usage in this case. Actually, my research model was a bit more easier, because some limitations. If you will be interested in these limitations, you can ask me later, but I'm not going to bother you with these details. So this is my research model. If you not able to read the text, you don't need it to read, but if you will be interested in research questions, I can send this presentation for you, that's not a problem. The main thing that you have to pay attention on this slide, that as I told before, in learning processes, it's very important to see the progress, because actually, yeah, how we can understand if someone is actually learning or not, we can just see progress, or yeah, we don't see the progress. That's why I added progress in my research model. And I told you about vocal features. So to see the progress in improving in public speaking skills, we can measure by seeing progress in improving in vocal features. So that was the main idea of my research, I would say. That's how it was. Fortunately or unfortunately, I can share only photos with me, not with my participants, but yeah, this is the headset that I used, and this is the room that was available for me. I used for my research. But what people actually did in this research? I asked participants to prepare 5 minutes presentations, and I recorded their voice so they could hear themselves while they run self-assessment. I also created a rubric for self-assessment to support self-assessment. And they, after each time of presentation, they hear their voice and they could assess themselves. It was only 1 session and 3 times of presenting. And now let's talk about findings. First of all, I found that progress in improving public speaking skills, or specifically in vocal features, was positive and significant. What does it mean? It means that actually people can practice public speaking skills in VR, and the progress will be positive. But yeah, that's quite predictable, I would say. But progress was not a moderator for relationship between performance expectancy and effort expectancy, so that's not a moderator. What does it mean? That means that if I have a progress in this VR application or VR training for practicing public speaking skills, or if I don't see the progress, it doesn't affect, do I see that I will improve my performance or not, or is it complicated for me or not? But actually, if I see the progress in using VR training for practicing public speaking skills, then more likely I will use this VR training for practicing public speaking skills. So that's quite important and, yeah, in my opinion, quite interesting. Also, I would like to tell more about performance expectancy and behavioral intention. So, what was interesting? Performance expectancy itself wasn't significant in my research, And I was surprised because I expected that it will be significant, but actually it wasn't. But what was interesting, gender was a moderator for this relationship between performance expectancy and behavioral intention. I hope you see, yeah, you should see the graph, right? Give me some emojis, emoji if you see the slides and if you see the graph. Okay, only one person, no, two. Okay, perfect. Perfect, then you can see it. What does it mean, this graph? Actually, women were more skeptical at the beginning of using this technology, this red line, almost in the bottom at the beginning. They were very skeptical about using the VR training. But when they saw the progress in practicing public speaking skills, they became quite positive about using this technology. So that's why the red line goes up, and yeah, quite notable, I would say. But for men, as you can see, they were positive at the beginning. So yeah, basically it doesn't matter did they have a progress or not, they were quite positive about using this technology in general. And I checked some more research regarding this, and some of this research also had this finding that, yeah, men are more positive about using new technologies than women, and I think that's quite interesting. So what does it say? If you want to introduce the new technology, for example, in your company or in your organization, and you know that for people it's very important to see that this technology, this VR training, this something new, that they need to use it. So tell them about that they will improve their performance and how. So pay their attention that, yeah, hey guys, it will be very beneficial for you because, and yeah, especially if your target audience consists of women more than men. And I think, yeah, for real life, it's quite interesting, not only for academic field. I told you about this. Effort expectancy was a significant predictor for behavioral intention. So what does it mean? Actually, people, if people thought that, okay, this VR training not that complicated and I can actually use it for my learning process, then yeah, I will use this VR training anyways because it's easy and why not. And it was not moderated by gender, so that's why for women and for men it's the same. If it's not that complicated, then they will use it. This is all my findings in one slide, just again to give you an overview, and I'm not going to bother you with all these details. If you will be interested, ask questions or I can send this presentation for you. And what is the conclusion? What we can conclude from these findings and what we can use it, how we can use it in real life? Give me a second. So the main conclusion was about progress, that we see that progress in technology acceptance is quite important. So it's actually a predictor for behavioral intention, but probably it also a predictor for usage behavior. What does it mean? The thing is that this model, the UTAUT model, was used mainly in working context. So for working people who are actually, yeah, performance, it's part of their work. But I used this model for learning process. And in working context, using the technology, it can be already a goal. So, for example, your boss told you, yeah, you have to use this technology. And in learning context, using a tool, doesn't matter, VR training or any other tool or e-learning, it's just a tool. Because it's very important to focus on learning process itself, not only on grades, not only on results, but also on learning process. So that's why progress, because it's in process, that's why progress is very important for learning context. And again, that's why I would include it in this model, but we have to investigate it more. What is the relationship between progress and behavioral intention? What is the relationship between usage behavior? Next, apparently it's quite important to use this model in different contexts, and consider that in different contexts this model can be different. Probably it can affect relationship between predictors and behavioral intention, or maybe moderators will change this relationship. So again, it's very important to focus on context and understand what is the difference between original model and context where you use it. Yeah, so basically it was my presentation, and I hope I gave you an overview that technology acceptance, how does it work regarding VR and students at the universities. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer. Thank you. You can see the button raise hand, and you can raise your hand, and we can see your questions. Michael,
all right, everyone, if you have any questions, make sure to raise your hand and we'll be able to then put you on megaphone. So how about let's go with Constance?
Yeah.
Hi, Victoria. Thanks so much for this presentation. So interesting.
Yeah,
I have one question. How many participants did you have in your study?
I had 24 participants, but not everyone was included in the research.
Why was that? Did they just disqualify themselves for some reasons?
Yeah, because some data was missing, and because of this.
Okay, and may I ask which presentation environment you used?
I used, first of all, I used Brainstude application for practicing public speaking skills, and afterwards I used Ovation.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome.
All right, Justin, it looks like you have a question, but right now you are muted. If you unmute yourself, we can give you megaphone.
Justin?
Okay, well, Justin, I'm going to dismiss your hand raise, but if you press it again, we'll see if we can put you on megaphone.
Some more questions? Okay. I don't see any questions. If questions will appear, you can find me on LinkedIn. Let me.
We have a new question from Olive Tree.
Yeah.
Hello. If I understood correctly, you said that there was more resistance from the female participants.
Mm-hmm.
Is that correct?
It was not.
My question is.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Continue, please.
So it wasn't. There was no resistance?
It was not a resistance. It was basically that they were more skeptical about using this technology. So if I would go a bit more into details, after each presentation, they answered the questions how if they are willing to use this technology. And after the first time of presenting, females were more skeptical. They want to use this technology a bit less than males. And after third time of presenting, when they saw the progress, they were more willing to use this technology. So they answered to the question that, yeah, I'm going to use this technology in the future. And if I need to present in front of public, then I will try to use this VR training, for example, and this type of questions.
So my question is, was there any specific reasons for why they were skeptical?
Yeah, I was thinking about it, and in some research, I found that women in general more goal-oriented and performance-oriented in study context. So they more oriented to have better grades and to be more precise and accurate and everything. This is the one of my assumptions that I found, and yeah. I think that this is the main assumption, but I didn't investigate it because I didn't have enough time in my master research, unfortunately.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, welcome.
All right, Victoria, I have a question as well.
Oh, okay.
So I've seen like a couple different research papers where they talk about how VR has been helping with like education or in like learning different skills. And I'm curious if you came across anything that talked about how like the different types of headsets affected people's learning potential. So for example, the like 3 degrees of freedom with the Oculus Go versus the 6 degrees of freedom with the Oculus Rift or HTC Vive.
If I understood you correctly, what is the difference between in learning goals if people use different VR headsets, right?
Correct. Was there any impact?
I didn't take a look on specific these questions, but I did take a look what is the difference in perception. For example, if people, let's say, present in front of imaginary audience, so basically in empty room, for example, or in front of mirror, or if they present in VR headset. This is a huge difference between these two type of presentations, because in the first case, presenting in front of imaginative audience, it's not stressful. People don't perceive it like real, and they actually, yeah, it's not the same like presenting in front of real public, but practicing in VR. And here, yeah, the more fidelity, of course, that's better, but practicing in VR, they perceive it real. So it's stressful for them because heart rate increase. It's also feels real according to questionnaires. And if we will compare presenting in front of mirror, presenting in VR and presenting in real life, so presenting in VR and presenting in real life, it's approximately the same, but presenting in front of mirror, it's yeah, it's not real. People don't perceive it like real experience. But no, about different headsets, no. About 360, it was a research about practicing public speaking skills in 360, and yeah, it was approximately the same like in real life. So people perceive that this is stressful, that feels real, and they, yeah, they actually feel like they are presenting in front of real public.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, welcome.
Next question is from Syrian_O. You are on megaphone.
Hello, this is Syrian from Norway. I wondered what kind of information or introduction did you give to the participants before you investigated or got for this? Oh, I have problems with finding the word. But what kind of information did the participants get before you asked them all these questions about this, what they feel and so on?
So basically, to make it equal for everyone and to make it equal for everyone, I send the email to each participant with the description what they have to prepare and a short description of the process, so how it will be, when we will meet and so on, so these details. And at the beginning of each session, I just described what we have to do. So how to use the controllers, how to use the VR application, and it was just short instructions. I didn't, of course, I didn't introduce my research questions. I just described that, yeah, this is the VR application, this is the VR environment. You will have 5 minutes to practice. You can see the timer. You can take a look on the timer and just, 5 minutes, that's enough. I will record your voice. After the presentation, I will send you a questionnaire. You can fill the questionnaire while listening to your recording. And yeah, we will repeat it 3 times. So it was only instructions that I gave to my participants.
Okay.
Next question is from Planet. You are on megaphone.
Thank you. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I haven't done this before. I haven't spoken before. So I'm kind of trying to figure out the question in my head. So follow me if you can. So Charlie, I think on Tuesday, toward the end of his presentation, had a question, and he pretty much was saying that this anonymity that not only virtual reality but all social media enjoys is something actually very damaging. And my question to you is practically following the question of the moderator. And I'm sorry, I didn't catch your name, the moderator. But if they practice, you're saying that it's good to practice in VR because they have an audience, but right now the audience that I look around is more or less also anonymous, it's avatars. Wouldn't that be a deceptive, I mean, I'm not saying it's a deceptive feeling, but it's a factor at least in training to talk in front of an audience. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I have only 2 answers to this question. The first one that I mentioned before, that according to research, it feels real. So people measure stress level by measuring heart rate. It was not my research. Yeah, it was just the research that was published. And also some physical features. I'm not sure that I remember exactly, but it's something about sweating and breathing. So, and they proved that, yeah, people feel that practicing in VR seems like the same level of stress that practicing in real life. And the second part of my answer, I would say that 99% of my participants tried VR training and VR in general for the first time. And at the end of each session, I asked them, like, what was your experience? Not for my research, I was really curious about it. And lots of them, almost everyone told me, like, I tried it for the first time. And first of all, I thought that it will be like, okay, it's just a game. The audience is not real. And it's just, that's not real. So it's not that stressful. But actually, it was super stressful. Especially like first time, maybe not that stressful, but third and second, when you know what to expect. And when you see actually this virtual audience. And virtual audience also could react, not react, but they could move, they could change the posture. So it was not just like pictures, but they kind of not also like real people, but 3D models, but still. And they told me, participants told me, like, it feels very real, and I feel really stressful when I'm presenting in front of this audience, even though I know that this is not real audience. So I hope I answered your question. Okay. I thank you guys.
Next question is from Marcia LK. Oh, yeah. Okay. This. Bobby then.
Hi, Bobby Carlton. How are you doing?
Hey, that's great. I'm doing great.
You are an L&D specialist, instructional designer, and the question I have for you is your strategy, or what is your what is your approach to bring in or fold in the technology without disruption or without alienating your audience?
That's a good question. first of all, even though I'm really passionate about using new technologies in education, I'm also quite skeptical about this. What does it mean? I truly believe that using the technology should have a good reason. Because first of all, technology costs mental energy. I mean, if people are not familiar with the new technology, they first of all have to learn how to use this technology. So that's already, they need to spend some mental energy to this. That's why we have to understand that using this technology, it's the best way to deliver something to our audience or to teach them to do something, to specific skills, for example. And I think this is the main approach. And if you understand that, okay, this is a VR in this case, it's the best solution. So in this case, it won't be distracting, at least I believe. It won't be distracting, it will be only helpful because, yeah, people can learn more and they can gain more from using this technology.
Oh, great. Thank you very much for your response. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for the question.
Wat is trouwens even niet Breda Nederlands?
Ja, ik spreek een beetje Nederlands.
Mijn...
Do we have more questions?
Yep, moving on to the next question. Marcia, okay, you are on megaphone.
Marcia?
Marcia, we can't hear you. You might be having an audio issue. I'm going to try to put you on megaphone again.
Mute. No?
Yeah, I cannot hear, unfortunately.
Okay, so while Marcia is trying to hopefully send her question to me, does anyone else have any questions for Victoria?
Oh, never mind. Sorry. Victoria, what are we learning about today?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear.
What are we learning about today?
Learning?
Yep, development of specialist, instructional design, learning design. Okay, so instructional designer, is that what we're learning about? Instructional design, sorry.
It's about creating educational programs and educational programs, basically, about methodology.
Okay, cool.
So Victoria, what are your next steps with the research work that you're doing?
With this research, I finished already because it was it was my master project for my master's degree. And right now I finished with this research. And yeah, I would like to continue investigating technology acceptance a bit more in maybe in real life. I mean, in real companies with real people, not only with students who were just participants. Because it also could be a difference if people can actually use this technology or if they only participated in the research, in the experiment. Because it was one of the reasons why, for example, performance expectancy wasn't that important in predicting behavioral attention. So I would like to run a long study, maybe 1 year, to see how it changed during the time and with the increase in experience and so on. So it will be very interesting for me.
Okay, sounds good. See, I haven't received my question from Marcia okay yet, but we have time for like 1 or 2 last questions before we move on to our next speaker.
Yeah.
Okay, if there are no further questions, thank you so much, Victoria. Everyone, please give her a round of applause.
Yeah, thank you guys, and thank you for your questions. It was very interesting. So this card's for you. It was cool. Okay.
Alrighty then, yep. So that's the end of Victoria's talk, and next up we will have Avery. Her talk will begin in another 17 minutes or so. So we'll be setting up the event, so everyone feel free to just hang out. And thank you.
Yeah, if you want to ask some questions privately, I will be here for a bit, or we can